I am sitting here on the back steps for a minute before I head into the garage. We've been up for a while, watched our YouTubes, and getting ready to get busy doing stuff, you know, several small things today. I had called the kitties, been here for a few minutes, and now I finally see Tux coming down from up top of the hill. I get it that it's hot here by the back door with the sunshine, but there are cool places down here in the yard too, so hopefully if I give him some love, he'll stay down here. Hey buddy! We have a chance for a couple of thunderstorms this afternoon with gusty winds and small hail. Certainly doesn't look like that at the moment. It's going on 1:30 p.m. Hey, buddy. Hi. Thank you for coming after I called you, even though you were slow. Hi. Hey, bud. Hi. Hi, buddy. So Don went under the house, and as soon as he went underneath there, Slake showed up over here. And Gray showed up over here. They're like, can we go under? No. If I need them and they don't come when I call them, I think we should just go under the house. Yeah. It's like instantaneously they show up afterward.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Every time. It never fails.
I had to lock Don in, guard the door, and then let him back out. Well, I don't see the hawk, but over there by the nest, certainly making some noise right now.
So the other day, you know, I drilled a hole up through in the very corner to run that Ethernet cable. And of course, it's hard to see, but there's a little light switch.
It's hot out there today, so we can't really open the garage door to bring in more light right now. It's over 80 and it's
like 85.
Yeah, we don't want that in here. It's cold, cool, nice, pleasant in the garage.
So for those of you that didn't get a good look at this, is the finished up Ethernet, because Marianne didn't get a picture. And I run that quarter round conduit all the way up to the ceiling up there.
Right, and this is to put the Ethernet access point over the stairway to the upstairs.
Right, that's where the Ethernet cable runs. So you're probably saying, now why are they having a flashlight? Why don't they turn on the light? Well, the reason is because I've got the breaker off.
Yeah.
Because as things work out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that bottom breaker on the left side.
Yeah.
As things work out, this switch works, but the lights flicker.
Yeah, when I went out to do my Pokemon the other night, it just so happened that I used the garage lights instead of the backyard lights, which are different lights.
Yeah. And
it was doing these crazy flickering things going on mostly, but a little bit going off too. And so, of course, obviously, as you know, I was dickering in this spot right here. I mean, this is where I was messing. Yep.
I didn't do anything with that switch. But this is where I was messing. So I said, oh, well, I must have, even though I was very careful when I went through, I could have nicked the wire, because the wire runs up from the breaker box here, up over, and then comes down to the switch, and then goes back up to the light fixture and various different other places.
To be clear, these are for the 3 floodlights on the garage.
Outside. That's right.
2 low, 1 high by above the double window, and this is an A controlled echo controlled outlet here.
It's a smart switch. Well, anyway, the bottom line is the lights flickered, so I didn't have, it was dark and didn't have time to mess with it, so I just turned off the breaker, and that breaker just so happens controls the lights on this side of Ruby's parking area in the garage. So anyway, so I've been diagnosing, and I went up there and I've checked the wires, and they're fine. And
they're not nicked, they're not damaged
or anything. It doesn't appear to be anything. This is just, you know, the way things go for me. So I come over here upstairs and I pulled up the floor again.
Oh, over or by the wall over here.
Yeah,
the window, by the big window.
Because that's the other place that those wires run, the electrical wires run, and the Ethernet cable run in the close proximity to each other. And I checked to make sure I didn't drill into a wire over there. And I haven't. I'm basically at this point, you know, I hate coincidence, but I'm guessing that switch is crapping out. So,
yeah, we could hear it going on and off with the flickering.
right, so what I'm doing here now with this little cable and this wire is I'm coming up with a little tester. I'm going to take that faceplate off, remove that switch, go into the house, because this one has always not worked well with A. It always says the device is not responding.
And then it turns it on anyway. Well, we have to listen to that whole speech every time.
Yeah, so I want to unprogram this one from
A, yeah.
A, and then reprogram it and see if I can clear up that message. And I'm just generally going to shake it, tap it, beat on it, something. And then depending on how all that goes, I will come back over here and possibly just put a regular switch in over here for the time being till I'm happy that, I mean, I've inspected the wire the best I can. I've got my little endoscope and I'm going to go up there and double, triple check. But visually, I could see all the parts of the wire where I was working or drilling and all that stuff. And I felt it with my hand. And I mean, if the wire was nicked by a drill bit, you would definitely feel the Romex covering would be not smooth. So I mean, at this point it's pretty much got to be the switch. And I'm hoping when I put this little test contraption on there and I put a light on it and I go in the house, it flickers. That's what I'm hoping.
And then you know it's bad.
Then I know it's just a switch and I can, you know, take a deep breath, and I have another smart switch I can put out here, program it for Alexa and all that stuff, and we'll be good. So the best thing that could happen is when I wire up my little chest jig, take it into the house, plug it in, play with it, I can get the switch to flash, the light to flash. I've got a little light that I'm going to hook up to it and all that stuff. So I'm basically going to build a little test setup here. Didn't mean to be so long-winded.
Well, I just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been leaving for school in the morning.
That's right.
We stopped using Garage 3 to 4 weeks ago.
That's right.
And so if that switch went bad or was having problems, we would have been less likely to notice it because we weren't using it. Oftentimes when we go out for the cats, we turn on backyard lights, which are the floodlights on the house versus the floodlights on the garage. So there has been some weeks since it was working well that we just don't know what it was doing.
Right, that's right. And that's a very good point. When I do the detailing in the morning, I usually just hit the switch. Sometimes I tell her to turn it on. But I have to listen to that speech every time, that scolding that she gives me every time. So I usually just walk over. But as Marianne said, we have not been detailing Ruby here for the last month. So
nobody here's been awake at 6:30 a.m.
That's right. And plus, the sun's actually come up, so
right, and maybe wasn't even needing it quite as much a week or two before.
So this flashing problem could have
seems like a coincidence we were in the wall, but maybe it wasn't a coincidence because we were in the wall.
And we're trying to figure that out. That's
because Don didn't need because Don needed another project to do besides the ones on his list.
That's right. I needed yet another project.
So in 2016, it's been 4 years, Don converted the fluorescent lights in the garage to LEDs.
And we've loved it.
He took down each fixture one at a time, did the conversion, put the fixture back up, basically, right? That seems to be what I remember anyway.
Well, it started with the classic case. I did the fixture in the kitchen.
Yep.
The fixture that we use all the time. The most used light fixture that we have is the kitchen light fixture. So fluorescent. It used to be a 4-tube fluorescent.
Talk about money. Don was just seeing ka-ching every time I left it on for an hour.
Right, and so I went and bought a 4-tube LED light, or a 4 LED light, and actually took the guts out of that inexpensive, it was one of those for the acoustic cylinder, the drop-in place. I forget what they call them. But anyway, I basically picked it up for 40 bucks or so. And so I took the guts out of that light fixture and I put it in a nice wood 4-tube light fixture, took the ballast out and all that stuff out and wired it, and we've loved it. It's been great. Well, that worked out so well, I was like, you know, I really would like to have those nice lights in my garage. So I went on eBay and I bought a case of 25 18 watt 6000K dual-ended LED T8 bulbs for these fixtures, which means you don't need the ballast anymore. And Mary Ann's correct. The first couple I took it down because I had to do that to get the ballast out. They were really, anyway, I quit taking the ballast out. I just cut the wires off the ballast, wired the G13 ends in, which is what the T8 tubes use anyway. And so they basically, most of them have ballast in them, but the ballast is not hooked up any longer. Basically the line voltage comes in, the neutral goes to one end and the hot goes to the other end, and we've loved these lights. Great.
They work great.
They work great.
They don't come on slow like the old lights.
Right.
They're like really bright
That's
right when you turn them on, which is a real plus for ditching those fluorescent tubes.
That's right, because out here in the winter time when it was really cool in here, you'd flip the fluorescent lights on and they'd be, even though the fixture was cold, anyway, the bottom line is they would take a while to warm up. And so now the LEDs, we don't have that problem. Well, upstairs, those bulbs we've now got, and I got rid of all the LED. I didn't want 24 T12 bulbs, fluorescent tubes laying around, so I just packed those up, took them to the landfill years ago and got rid of them. So I don't have any extra T12 bulbs, okay, or T8 bulbs. The plant light that Mary Ann has, I have the special plant bulbs. They're for growing plants. I have a few of those fluorescent bulbs left for her light fixtures over there. But anyways, long story short, never possible with me. I'm going to replace the bulbs upstairs in the attic of the garage with LEDs. Well, what I'm actually doing is I'm buying, these are 18 watt tubes. I bought 28 watt dual rows, so there's 2 rows of LEDs in each tube, 28 watts a tube for down here. So this is going to get way brighter. It's going to go from 18 watts to 28 watts per tube, and there's 24 tubes down here. And then I'm going to take those 18 watt tubes, which are still perfectly good, and put in the fixtures upstairs.
And get rid of the fluorescence upstairs.
And get rid of the fluorescence. So,
now how many tubes upstairs?
Just so happens there's 24 tubes upstairs too. Yeah. It worked out well.
And there's a story behind those fixtures upstairs, right?
Yeah, those were all free. I went to the landfill one day, and there was these stacks of those office fixtures. Those are the ones with the diffraction lenses on it, so it diffuses the light without really nicely. Those are very expensive fixtures, and they're dual. You can turn on 1 bulb,
or 2,
2 bulb, or 3 bulb. You have your choice, or no bulb, obviously. So there's dual circuit, and so I wired them up dual circuit. There's 2 light switches. The default is all 3 bulbs on. I have another set of switches, 2 switches that you can change that to one bulb or 2 bulb if you like. But anyway, all that said is that I got them for free. I got
and they're here and in the house attic.
That's right. I got 16. I put up every fixture that I was able to load up, and I do believe I had to take 2 trips in the GMC. So I stacked them in there, and there were so many, because they're big, you know, they're like 2 feet by 4 feet long. I mean, they're big fixtures. They're like 6 inches thick.
Yeah.
Oh, because these are the ones that have the plenum, that in a commercial environment, your air return is in your ceiling. And so the lights have openings that allow the air to go up through there, so you don't have to put return vents. You can just pull out of your plenum, and all the offices, basically you get a return vent in the light. And this, like I said, these are commercial fixtures, and they have that feature. I don't use that feature, but that feature is there.
So will it be easy to put LED bulbs upstairs, or is that a big conversion again?
Shouldn't be. Those dual-ended, you just basically have to disconnect the ballast, you just cut the wires off, because you're never going to go back.
Right.
I mean, even if somebody gave me free fluorescent tubes that were, what does Dr. Berry said, hand massaged on the Himalayan
Yeah,
plains
right.
or something, you know.
Organic.
I ain't going back to fluorescent tubes, so the ballasts, it's not doing me any good. Now, if I can find somebody who buys old ballasts and gives you money for them, then I might take them out. But at this point, I'm just going to leave the ballast in there, cut the wires. But I'll leave enough that somebody could splice onto them. I'm not going to just chop them off tight.
So, coming soon.
Coming soon.
LED fluorescent light refit.
Yeah, LED before it gets really, really hot.
It's supposed to be cool after Friday.
Right. Well, they said it's 13th. It's coming from New Jersey. I bought a U.S. supplier. So they're coming from New Jersey. You know, probably Tuesday or Wednesday next week we'll do that project, convert the light. But I'm hoping that it'll be brighter, even brighter down here. And it won't, you know.
Well, I'm not dissatisfied with the brightness down here for even doing crafts and projects out here, but brighter is always better, appreciated. When I want to see, I want to see, and out here there's no not want to see time.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, they don't watch TV out here.
This is Don's switch testing setup, so he can see if the switch will turn on and off that light bulb, and this just gets all the other stuff out of the way where you can really tell what's going on. Carport on, carport off, on, off. So I've had the 70D pointed up at the hawk's nest, hopefully capturing some stuff, all video, and I'm gonna put on the 600 millimeter lens now and see if I can get a few pictures and see a little better. You know, it's a trade-off between closer up on the actual nest and what's going on up there, or seeing possibly somebody coming and going or on a limb nearby with some food or something like that. You know, both lenses have their place. I'm being careful out here, but as you can see right there is some poison ivy. Thankfully not closer to my feet. So Don now has the switch out of the wall in the garage, the one that we're worried might be giving us trouble, hooked up.
I've got it all wired, and of course I took all this time to put the little ends on and build my little test jig, and of course when I took it out of the wall, it was all wire nutted in. It didn't use screws, so I went and got a plug, and anyway, the bottom line is
But you found that old switch right away, right? When you were looking for it in the box. Yeah, we knew right where that box was upstairs.
All right, so here's our light fixture, and then here goes. So we're plugging her in. Oh, that doesn't sound good. That's kind of that noise it was making.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. And if I go here in the A app to garage lights, says switches off, I can turn it on. Yeah. Maybe.
Let's see. Yeah, the light's on.
Well, it says the switch is unresponsive, device is unresponsive, switch is off.
Right.
It's not letting me turn the switch on.
Yeah, well now the light will light because that'll be across the line. This is basically the hot neutral coming straight in from the switch. I mean from the It
doesn't want to let me turn it on.
Yeah, I think that's, well, obviously we have figured out the problem. The problem is the switch.
Right. Well, Don said he thought all the switches were GE switches, but this one actually is not. Maybe that's why we've been having so much trouble with it, and all the other ones work great.
Right.
And the one we tested, carport, that he's going to replace this one with, it's a GE switch.
Right. But anyway, I'm thinking this switch is, yeah, I can hear it.
It's making bad noises in there.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it good to know that
it's probably the little relay.
That you actually didn't do anything in the wall. It was just nasty coincidence.
Yeah, it's the story of my life.
Don's got the garage switch working with A now properly, the new one, the GE one. I just spent about 90 minutes weed eating. That was hard work. There's more to do, but I've done all I can do today. I accidentally went over top of a couple of pieces of poison ivy, so it would be a good idea if I went and washed up, really washed up. It's been a long time since I cooked on the grill. I've let it get super hot to sterilize it, and we've got some balsamic vinaigrette here on these beef cubes. So there are some storms northwest that have hail and heavy winds, but they're not that close. I asked Don to drive me down to the environmental park tonight because I had one of my hard apple ciders. He did not. And I was really in a lot of pain. My shoulders were really tight from holding that weed eater for over an hour. Even though I used the little Ryobi one, that was still a lot of arm muscle movement, weight, whatever. So yeah, I had a little beverage with our dinner. It turned out good. We had guac and onions and sweet onion and sour cream with those beef cubes. It was really good. No flour tortillas, of course, here since we're on low carb. But Don's going to take me to the environmental park, let me spin my Pokestop, and then we'll put Ruby in the garage. Thank you, Donnie.
You're welcome, pretty girl.
Well, I didn't think it was gonna start threatening rain so soon. Everyone at the environmental park is scrambling for their cars. We heard thunder. So I'm hurrying. I'm rushing. I'm trying to get her done. It really is dark to the northeast over there. Even darker than it's showing up, I think, on the video. So that's definitely where the storm cell is. You know, Ruby's dirty. I just don't want on my pretty clean, dry garage floor to pull in a wet car. So I spun the gym here. It's a gym now, not just a Pokestop. And we're headed back to the house.